Massenomics.
Thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Yeah. Welcome to Massenomics, the world's strongest podcast. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Massenomics. Make sure you go visit Massenomics.com. There you'll find the rest of our powerful content. While you're there, check out our store and buy yourself some of that sweet Massenomics gear.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 138 of the Massenomics Podcast. Your same two hosts are here again today, Tanner and Tommy.
What's up?
How's it going today?
Oh, it's going good.
We got a little workout in.
We did get a little pump on.
Our pre-podcast pump.
That's kind of been the ritual lately, hasn't it?
Get a little pump, do a little
really
podcast.
Clears the mind.
And then you look your best.
You do look
when
your
you're
best.
on
Well,
video.
I do work out fast enough that I get home, shower, and a lot of times even eat.
Yeah.
So I do have you got a little more prep in than you did.
Yeah, I pretty much am right here, straight from there.
You're just that dedicated.
Yep. That's pretty much it. Was there anything really exciting in the world? We kind of usually cover current events. I don't know this last week. Was there any exciting current events? I mean, this is usually where people go to.
In the world or lifting?
No, in the world.
In the
we
world.
usually touch on like one or two exciting world events, and I don't know if there was any.
I don't really think there was.
It was a pretty slow week.
Yeah.
General Electric stock price continues to plummet.
Does it really?
It does.
Is there a reasoning behind that?
I think it's a whole systemic problem with a series of bad CEOs. And
oh, is it?
The only reason I know is because if I could
you're heavily invested
if
in
I
the
could
company,
give you guys
losing lots of money.
If I could give you guys a piece of advice, it would be don't have bought a decent amount of General Electric stock like 2 years ago, because right now it'd be worth 1/3 of the price of when you bought it. General Electric was
just theoretically, right?
Yeah, just if that could happen to a guy. General Electric was on the Dow Jones for 110 straight years. Like it first got on there in like 1906 or something like that.
Yep.
And it now has performed so poorly that after 110 straight years of being in that group of like blue chip stocks, they've like bumped it out of there because it's decreased. So,
oh wow, I didn't realize they were doing that bad.
Yeah, they're doing really bad. Like they're selling a bunch of assets, and
jeez.
That here again, I only would know like if I wouldn't normally care. But it's like every day that I see a headline about General Electric screwing up, it's really
at
really
this
annoying
point
me.
you probably just need to ride out the wave and see what happens.
That's exactly right.
Because you know what, maybe I should be buying right now.
I kind of think so. Like
probably not a bad.
Even,
I mean, if GE is out, there's probably there's probably bigger problems than just losing some money here. Like
that's the thing too. Like how is this affecting?
It was like the same thing with all the banks. It was
exactly.
like, well, if these banks all go bad, like we're in way more trouble than me losing money in the stock market. Like
exactly, and that is kind of the case on GE. It's like.
Yeah.
Wait a second. If GE is doing this poorly, is it just a GE problem, or is it like a whole economy problem?
It's called too big to fail. You just don't have to worry about it then, right?
That's right. It's like Massenomics. We're too big to fail, I think, at this point.
We're very close to having that problem.
I think we are. We're there, right? I mean,
yeah, probably.
The increase in followers, the increase in listeners here. Like,
yep.
There's probably no way we could fail at this point.
Yeah, I don't know
outside of just giving up.
That's all I could ever think of.
What we were going to talk about, though, today is Tommy DeFea Day.
Ooh.
This is going to be Tommy DeFea Day on the Massenomics Podcast.
Kind of caught me off guard with this one.
Yeah, that's I figured it'd be better that way than but I don't think either of us necessarily have the personality that we're going to get on this podcast and like
just talk about ourselves. No,
because it's not that. Like that's a kind of a weird thing if you're not someone that's used to doing that normally. It's like more uncomfortable to take a compliment than receive a compliment. Sometimes it's that.
It's way tougher. And I think we're both the same personality in that.
Yeah,
it just feels weird to talk about yourself. Like when prompted,
all right, that's enough about me.
When prompted, I can do it. But like just to like have to like Yeah, this is what I do. This
Yeah.
is what, it's annoying to talk about that.
Right. But the reason for it is, I think it's important because we've been doing this for 138 episodes. A long stretch of time. We're getting close to where it's going to be 3 years here pretty soon.
We are closing in on that.
Yeah, which is crazy. But the reason I think it's important is because over this process, we've gained a lot of new followers. There's probably someone listening to this episode right now today
For the first time ever.
that's never listened to a Massenomics podcast before.
Probably someone. You mean probably hundreds of people, I think. Is
Thousands?
Yeah.
I mean, that's about how much it increases every week is
yeah.
thousands.
Yes.
And there's probably people that even maybe started listening 10 episodes ago, and you've heard us ramble on about maybe our favorite shows and maybe
Basic economic policies.
economics, politics and
All that stuff.
electronics,
The things we're
etc.
known for.
Yeah. But you probably really, really don't know too much about us, so we didn't have a lot of other hot topics to cover this week, so it'd probably be a good week to throw this in there, I think.
Why not?
So we do have a bunch of questions to go through. We popped out the question on the Instagram story question thing.
So so I plan ahead, for part 2, do I put out the questions on my Instagram story and just say, hey, everyone, who has questions for Tanner?
I don't know if we'll get a whole lot of questions.
I don't think a lot of people will reply, but we'll probably get a lot of answers from a lot of
Yeah.
questions from a few people.
Yeah, that's true. And today's exercise was also there was actually several, we do have enough of following that there's a decent amount of questions from just random people in there.
Yep.
There's a few people that ask multiple questions, and some of them
They want to
get
know
pretty
answers.
ridiculous, of
Yeah.
course, but there's some serious questions in there too, so it'll be kind of interesting.
All right.
But I think before we even get into one other thing, I've got something I think it'd be fun to do every once in a while, a little kind of a lightning round of questions of underrated,
And
overrated.
you've teased me with this
Yeah.
before. I'm
Yeah.
excited for this.
So I think I maybe put together like 8 or so, and I'll give you, some of them are going to be lifting related, some of them are going to be completely unrelated to lifting.
Yep.
And those are mixed in there, and I'll give you the whatever it is, and you'll tell me whether you think it's underrated or overrated.
And then provide a short answer that has to be less than 10 minutes long for each one.
Preferably.
Actually, before we get too far here, Tanner,
Yeah.
there was one current event I just thought of in the world this week.
What was it?
You shaved.
Yes.
And for viewers of the podcast,
That's true.
they're probably thinking, who is this guy here?
Who is that guy that doesn't have a chin? That's the joke around the house. Like, luckily, I'm not like so concerned about myself that like I can easily do the jokes about myself as well as I can. If you make them about yourself, then it like takes a little bit of the air out of the sail. If someone else doing it about you too. Like if you beat them to the
that's
punch.
the one thing. As soon as you let someone know that it hurts you,
Yeah,
they
then
can
that's-
just.
yes.
I mean, if you can say whatever you want to someone, and if they're not if they're just like, oh, whatever, it's like, well, it's not even fun anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't even bug them.
Yep. So that's been the running joke around my house the last couple of days is what happened to my chin and why don't I have a chin? And it's funny because I went 30 years straight looking like this. I never had
Shaving all the time.
Yeah, all the time. And then I went like less than a year of having a half-assed beard. I don't even know if I call it that, but whatever whatever it was that was on my face. And now I go without it, and it's immediately like, oh my God, I looked like this. Like,
Did you get a lot of comments at work?
yeah, several people are like, oh, you shaved. I didn't get a lot of positive comments, but I got a lot of like, oh,
there you are.
yeah, you look different.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone took notice, but I'm gonna grow it back. It was just a matter I was trimming it, and it just wasn't looking right.
That's what I feel like I hear. I don't really have that issue because I hardly grow any facial hair at all.
Right.
But I feel like that is the most common reason I hear for people that do grow beards or goatees, and then all of a sudden one day it's different. They're like, yeah, trimming just went really wrong.
I think it's an art that I don't understand, and I have no experience doing it because I've maybe grown it out twice here in the last year, and each time I've just then shaved it away.
When I had roommates, Chris, I would routinely shave Chris's
His
beard
head.
for him. Well, because we'd do his head, and then he'd be
yeah.
like, can you just get the beard too? And we'd take the whole, I saw the guys at the Arnold do it, so I'm basically a master now at this point.
You're a
But
maestro.
I'm a maestro, man. So you get in there, you kind of eye it up. It's like just carving a hedge. You get the lines and you're good to go.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So that is the big news in the world is
That
that
is.
I
Yep.
have
the biggest.
I look like a
revelation.
19-year-old boy with no
Man-child.
chin. So where should we start, Tommy? Do you think at the beginning?
Probably
we
the
probably
beginning.
don't need to spend a ton of time from when you're like the first 10 years of your life, but it would be interesting, I think, for people to kind of know like where you come from a little bit, like
Okay,
school-wise,
okay. Yeah.
maybe even a little bit more background than we've ever gone into, and we'll tie what we can into lifting, but I think
Yeah.
maybe some of it won't necessarily be directly related to
Okay,
lifting.
yeah, I'll try not to make this too boring here.
right.
Okay, so grew up in a small town in South Dakota, much smaller than where we're at right now, even.
Yeah.
Not far from where we live, but
What is it, hour and some?
yeah,
drive,
hour and a
or-
half, 100 miles. Basically, like 10 miles from Minnesota, so pretty dang close to Minnesota. Grew up there, had my brothers, a lot of friends, small towns, you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
And as far as like sports, whatever we did, I mean,
Yeah,
we always.
you wrestled?
So
in high-
I mean, so like I was always like I've always liked like being busy, doing a lot of stuff. So like growing up, like we'd be, did like a lot like football, wrestling. Like we'd play a lot of games. I'd play a lot of games of pickup basketball. I didn't play basketball, but
Yeah.
played a lot of games of pickup basketball with my friends, like tennis, track. Like
Did you play
skateboarding, snowboarding.
tennis, organized
I
tennis?
did play
Yeah,
like
that's-
high school tennis.
I forgot about that.
Like I was on the varsity tennis
Yeah.
team for a little while.
So were you competitive at tennis? Do you think?
I was awful. Like it just happened that we had like literally the worst tennis team in the entire state.
Can you do a forehand?
Oh yeah.
a
Like,
decent-
I get topspin on it. and all
But
that,
forehand is a lot harder than backhand.
No.
isn't it?
Not in ping pong. I would say.
Oh,
not in
okay.
tennis though.
Okay.
Not in
Yeah,
tennis,
you're
though.
right. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, backhands in tennis are much more difficult.
So did you have a
than
good
forehand.
backhand?
No, I had a pretty shitty
Yeah.
backhand because most guys were fairly decent, especially in the high school level. You have to have like a two-handed backhand, and I could never do a two-handed I was just a one-handed guy.
Oh.
My technique was
Yeah.
that was terrible. I wasn't good.
Did you practice tennis a lot?
I mean, a lot of my friends did it, so it's just like, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're going to the tennis court. It's like, okay, I guess I'll go. And then it's
Yeah.
like you sit there and it's like, okay, you start playing. That's how. I mean, that was the same way with like pickup basketball games. It's like, oh, we're all going to play basketball. It's like, well, I got nothing else to do,
Yeah.
so it's like all of a sudden you're playing pickup basketball games, and
yeah.
so that's how I'd go. And like video game, like we play a ton of video games, like.
What was
I mean, like I was huge, like back in the day, like into like RPG type games, like Final Fantasy, like those things. Like I never played a lot of like sports video. Like a lot of people, love, and especially now, like it's a totally different thing.
right,
But
right. Video
like-
games. If you talk about video games now,
just
it's
in
not
general, yeah. But like then it was like Grand Theft Auto, like
Yeah.
huge into that. Like we
Yeah.
always played a ton of like Street Fighter, those type of things. Any of your Nintendo stuff, like Smash Brothers, all that stuff,
Yeah.
like the classics.
right.
So we did a lot of that, which you kind of have to when you're in a small town because there's just not a lot of other stuff going on.
That's true.
But I guess that was kind of the extent of me growing. Yeah,
But you wrestled.
So,
in
yeah,
high
so
school,
in high
didn't
school-
you?
so, yeah,
Did
in
you
high school
wrestle
that-
through all
I
years of high
did.
school?
Yeah, and I didn't even start wrestling until I was in like 8th grade. And I think we've touched on this maybe a little bit before, but like I'm 6'1" right now. I weigh 210.
Yeah.
6'1", 210. I feel like that's not big, that's pretty. I mean, I lift.
Yeah,
But
right.
I'm not like huge by any means, but I'm also not like some skinny guy walking around.
Right.
But like in high school, like my freshman year, I was probably, I don't know, 5'9" or 5'10", and I wrestled 135. Like that is so skinny.
Yeah.
And even like my junior and senior year, I wrestled 160. And at the time, I didn't have to cut any weight. Like 160 was like, I'm like, damn, that's like a heavy dude.
Right.
And I was pretty much as tall as I was right now.
Right.
And that was like, that's how much I weighed. So it's like, even now thinking like, damn, could I really lose 50 pounds? I'm like, I think I would die if I did that.
That would be crazy.
I would die.
Yeah.
So it's weird how that like your body can change over time. You know? Because even before, and I weighed that 160 like well into like my early 20s. Like,
Yeah.
so it
That's
wasn't
crazy.
like as soon as I got done with high school, because some people do that, get done with high school, and it's like they put on 20, 30 pounds because like they're not doing shit
You're
anymore.
drinking constantly.
Oh yeah, and like I weighed pretty much 160, 165 until I started going to the gym when I like going to the gym regularly when I was, I don't know, 23-ish.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
So were you good at wrestling in high school?
I was okay. Like my junior and senior year, I made it to state.
Oh,
I
that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know wrestling. Like I didn't never wrestle, and we didn't even have that at our school. So I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
know
I qualified for state both years.
Yeah.
At state, I didn't do anything, but
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's an achievement.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, for whatever that is. And like football,
So did you play football all?
Yeah, I played football all my years of high school. And,
Okay. What positions did you play in football usually?
This is, so I was always I was pretty much always a fullback and a linebacker.
Okay.
And like I would say defense was more of I like defense more. I think it was more just like, especially at the high school level, it's like just kind of like blow some stuff up and tackle someone. Like you can like
pretty much if you do that in the high school level.
Oh yeah, just almost being slightly more aggressive. Pretty much like makes you an above average player.
Yep.
Like that's really all it takes.
Yep.
And so like I always liked defense a lot. I was always a linebacker. But then through the years I was on offense, I was a fullback. Then my senior year, because in my class we had like when I was a senior, there was like 4 or 5 kids that were seniors that were out for football. Like there was hardly anyone that played football.
Yeah.
So that year I got switched to a lineman. I was a
really
160.
But
in high school you'd be amazed. That doesn't really actually make it. Like at the time I was like, oh, this is the worst idea. And then like once you do your camps in the summer and do some scrimmages, it's like, oh, like okay, yeah, these guys weigh 200 plus pounds, but they're not athletic. Or
a difference.
And most kids in high school aren't that strong either.
Like the bigger guys that just suck aren't better than a smaller guy. That's
they're
capable.
just heavier.
Yeah,
but they're also slower and
Right.
not really that much stronger for the most part.
Right.
Especially like in these somewhat smaller schools.
Right.
They're just they're just bodies taking up space. So that wasn't as bad as I actually thought it would be. But
but
yeah, I mean that was.
And so Ryan, Flying Ryan _ D.
Yep,
He's been on the podcast, I don't know, 10, 15 times probably.
Mm-hmm.
Lifts at Massenomics gym with us, obviously, competes in powerlifting and everything else. So he's how much younger than you?
Ryan's 1 year younger than me.
Like exactly, pretty much?
Like a year and a few months, yeah.
So, like, when you were growing up, was he, like, if you were going to play basketball and stuff, was he going with you?
Yeah,
and stuff like that,
he usually
like,
did a
pretty
lot
much
of
all the
that.
time?
Yep, we played a lot of basketball together, like, we did tennis together. Like we skateboarded together a ton. Like skateboarding was something I really, really liked when I was younger. Like, so we did that a lot.
So would you two be competitive against each other as you're growing up, or
a little bit? Like, not like we were never overly competitive, just because we just never really were.
You wouldn't.
I personally, like, especially when I was younger, was a very competitive person. And that kind of, I think, just like over time, you're kind of like, whatever.
You realize
like,
a little bit more of what.
It's like, this doesn't really matter for anything.
Right.
But so, yeah, I don't know. I was probably pretty competitive with him. But
would you ever get in like a fight?
Oh yeah, we definitely definitely got like, and it was even growing up. And I think anyone with brothers can relate to this. Is like when you were younger and WWE came on, it was just like an all-out brawl in the house, basically until someone would start crying or you break something and your parents would have to split you up. And that literally went like, I mean, actually, we could ask any of my friends, like even in high school, we'd still get together and the guys would start like wrestling and fighting with each other. And so that was like, that was always a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you just got to do that.
What was like, how young or old were you like the last time that you like played a game or something and got like mad at each other?
Oh,
and,
like played a game and got mad?
Or playing basketball or anything like that, and then like got mad at each other over just something stupid like that,
I probably high school.
Okay,
like that basically disappeared after high school. Yeah. It for sure happened in high school, but I don't know if it has since then.
And Ryan's like 6'5" now. Was he taller than you growing up?
I would say probably by the time we were like, by the time I was like a junior, he was a sophomore right around there. We were probably about the same.
Yeah.
And then pretty much from his sophomore year on, he's been taller than me.
Yeah.
I weighed more than him though. For a good chunk of that, even though he was taller than me, he was
and even
really
though
skinny.
you were like you said 6.
Ryan was really skinny, but he figured out how to even it all out.
Yeah. Now he walks around at more like 250 or above all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I guess I mean.
What about school? Like, did like in high school, did you get good grades?
So I actually did get fairly good grades. Like my high school class had like 76 kids in it, I think.
Yep.
I think I graduated like number 10-ish.
Which
like,
these are big numbers, like to me when you're
yeah,
saying
yeah, no, which, yeah. Like,
to
most people are
out
probably
there,
like, really, you had
yeah.
less than several hundred kids in your class. But yeah, I always got good grades.
Yeah.
And like, also like looking back on it though, like, I think for the most part, high school, if you tried even a little bit, like you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to screw around with my friends and do not like. I think most people can look back and say that.
I
you know?
would agree for sure.
So yeah, I always like paying attention. I like learning stuff to this day even.
Yeah.
And
So you weren't like getting like
no, it was
in
for the most
trouble,
part it was
yeah.
A's and B's,
Yeah.
and yeah, I pretty much never got in trouble. I just kind of did what I was supposed to, and just
That's
took
what
it
I would.
easy.
That's what I would picture. I would say.
Yeah, I would say I was fairly chill. You know?
Yeah.
As lame as that sounds.
Yeah. So then, what did you do after?
So then after that, I decided, you know what? I'll give this graphic design thing a try. For some reason, like I took some like art classes in high school. You know, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, and somehow like the idea of that kind of came up that yeah, you can possibly do this. So I went to a tech school in Minnesota because at the time I was like, 4-year colleges seem like a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
which they are.
And actually I'm amazed that high school me had like the insight to it. Was probably kind of by accident too, but
Yeah.
I was always fairly cheap and like the idea of like like what a fairly cheap college is even 10 grand a year, no
Yep.
problem, you know, like
Yep.
easy.
Yep.
And
that was at the time that.
and that was
10
was
years ago,
over 10
or-
years ago.
yeah.
Like, and prices are only rising
Yeah.
every single year. So
Right.
I was like, I don't know if I need to do all of these extra classes to go for graphic design. Like that seems like a lot. So
you don't need to take Bio 101. And,
which I did love those classes. Like that
Yeah.
was probably been my set. Like if I didn't go for art, it probably would have been something like biology related, just
yeah.
because those were some of my favorite classes. But yeah, I went to just a 2-year tech school for graphic design. They had a really good program. Like the stuff that they were doing, I thought seemed really cool. Went there 2.5 years. It was in Minnesota, and I liked it a lot. Like I learned a ton. Like I thought the instructors were all really good. They all had like. All the instructors either currently had or previously had like high-level professional jobs. So like you really did feel like you were learning from people that like
Yeah.
knew their stuff, not just
Yeah.
people that went to school and then became a teacher. Like they had actual industry experience.
Yep.
And they kind of gave you like they'd kind of like sit you down and like give you those life lessons of not like, okay, just do your project. Yep, good, you're done. Like they'd be like, sit down, like this is why you do this. And like kind of like teach you some of those soft skills too. Like you want to be
Yeah.
doing this type of thing, like working out these angles when you're talking to people, and kind of like just the whole like job market that now kind of a lot of it does kind of seem like a no-brainer, but when you're a kid you don't know any
No.
of that stuff. Like
No,
you
not
do
at
learn
all.
that if you're paying attention, you do learn that through time, but having someone like explicitly sit down and tell you that stuff
there's
does
value in that for
yeah,
sure.
it does make it easier. And college is really cool because like Minnesota, kind of northern Minnesota, it's just a really unique area. Like, you know, you have like these hills, you have the woods, like all these lakes. So when I was there, I got super into snowboarding. Like that was like my thing was snowboarding. Like we'd go, me and one of my good buddies, we'd go like 4 or 5 days a week. Like it was get done with class, go snowboarding.
Yep.
Saturday morning, wake up, go snowboarding all day. Like if you were lucky, someone was having a good party, you'd go to a party. Then Sunday around noon, just go out and go snowboarding again. And that was like it. Like that was the thing.
Yeah.
And
did you get pretty good at that? And
I got okay.
Yeah.
Like I mean, some guys,
like, could you do 1080s?
I could not do 1080s. Like that actually worked out really good too. Is that I had a friend, like my friend that I would go with a lot. He was good. Like he could hit like 60-foot jumps, and he could do backflips and like 720s, and he wasn't like afraid to like to me like die.
Yeah,
like he was just throw
that.
it out.
I was just
and
gonna
I'm
say
like,
die. Yeah.
like man, like so like I got to the point like I could hit jumps, but I never got comfortable like trying to do like 180s and 360s on like these bigger like 20-foot plus jumps.
Hurt yourself.
Yeah, but because it's Minnesota and a lot of times like the snow can be a little like hit and miss as far as like the actual quantity of snow. Like a big thing that people do is like they'll do like rails and boxes. So we spent a lot of time like doing that. So, you'd get like all these tricks down on there. And so that was kind of like where I felt a little more comfortable is doing those smaller
But so
things.
you could shred the gnar.
I could definitely shred the gnar, and I had a good time doing it too. And that was also, then the other cool thing, and this is probably kind of what sort of helped get me to this point of having anything to do with fitness, is that just by random chance, one of my roommates, while I was in college, was actually like a national champion USAPL lifter that trained under Brad Gillingham.
Yep.
And so at the time, like,
which is really cool.
It is really cool, yeah, because at the
Still to
time,
this
like,
day,
it was
it's
so, like, I didn't, like, I'm like, yeah, these guys are really strong, like.
And it was at a time when powerlifting
But
isn't
yeah, we're
quite what
talking
it
like
is,
2008,
Yeah.
9-ish.
Yep.
Like, which is probably when.
Raw powerlifting was in the USAPL.
Yeah, it had only
was
been
just
around for like a year or two.
Yeah.
Because I actually remember my roommate telling me he lifted equipped, but he couldn't get anything out of a bench shirt. And so I'm trying to remember if he even said if even you wore a bench shirt at USAPL Nationals, and he placed like third the one year without a bench shirt, while everyone else is doing it. And then it just so happens that then like the next year Raw exists, and so he could compete and win it. But so that was where I learned about like Brad Gillingham and like Nick Tylutke. We had him on the podcast. Like that's like where I first started hearing these stories.
We still
about
need to
these
have
guys.
Brad on the podcast soon. I was just thinking
I
about
know,
that the other day.
would-
We need to get that lined up. It's just a matter of us going and doing it. Really,
I think he's a really busy guy.
Yeah.
Which
He's
makes
got
things
a lot
tougher.
of kids
but
in high
between
sports
high school and college and everything, and it looks like he's always going to like conferences and all that.
We'll
but
get it figured out eventually, though.
Yeah, at some point it has to happen at some point.
Yes.
So yeah, that was kind of what sort of first planted the seed, and that is also where I started like for the first time outside of high school, like going to a gym regularly. But at that time, I wasn't going with this guy that was like my roommate that was the good lifter, because he went to a different gym like with his buddies at a very certain time, which was not the time that I had available. So I was kind of just like winging it with my other friend that we were just like, oh, let's do this and
Would
this.
you just bench a little?
No,
Would you like squat
and
deadlift?
We definitely benched more.
Yeah.
Never deadlifted, but we would squat. It was pretty much just like either a bench day or a squat day, and then there was, like anyone else, lots of arms mixed in there,
Right.
Because when you weigh 160 pounds, you need to get those arms
You gotta get
big,
those
right?
shredded arms. Yeah.
And so then leaving college is where I ended up back in South Dakota, and
God's country.
God's country. And at the time, I thought I'll probably be here for a year or two.
Yeah.
And here we are, 8
Did
years
you come
later.
to Aberdeen right away?
I did come to Aberdeen.
For work?
Yep, for work.
And you were doing graphic design work.
So yeah, this was like my first graphic design. Like I
Yeah.
interviewed at a place in town. I got offered this graphic design job, and it's like, okay, this gets me in the door. Like they're not wanting me to be an intern and work for free for a year, which I'm never gonna do that. Like that seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're not like paying me absolute minimum wage. So it's like, okay, yeah, we'll use this. It'll be a stepping stone. It'll get me going.
Right.
And the quick ending of the story is I'm still here and I'm married now. So.
So you, what year would that have been that you came to Aberdeen?
It was
then, like,
either 2000. I think it was 2010. I think.
And did you start going to the Y and lifting right away?
So
then,
no.
or-
So that was another one. So then I kind of quit because when I first moved to town, actually that's when I picked up on skateboarding again. Like, okay, yeah, I'll just keep skate. And actually, while I was in college, I skateboarded a lot too. But I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll just go to the skate park a lot, and that was kind of my thing. And then eventually over time, like it's like falling down really sucks. Like the older you get, like when you're a kid, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
But man, once you hit 20 even, it's like falling down is like a real life-changing event when that happens every single time. And so I started going less and less there, and it just started to be less rewarding. And it was, I worked with a guy that he would always play volleyball. Like his big thing, he loved playing volleyball. He played City League volleyball. And so he also played a lot of basketball too. And he's always talking about going to the Y. And I kept telling him like, yeah, I'll go pretty soon. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to start next month. And he's like, why would you start next month? He's like, that makes no sense. Just start now. He's like, what do you have going on? I'm like, nothing, like literally nothing.
Yeah.
So I just went to the Y one night and just started lifting. And I was like, oh, I'm having fun with this. And I started going a little bit more. And then I'm like, well, I need something to like tell me what to do.
Yeah,
like, cause
right.
I'm just totally winging it. And that's when I hit up my old roommate for like, dude, you got a program.
The national champ.
Yeah.
USAPL lifter,
And he's like, yeah, this is Brad Gillingham, like trained
the program.
He's like, here's the program.
Yeah.
And like, that's more or less the only program I've ever used. And it's literally I mean, we're talking absolute beginner, but from absolute beginner to now, it's probably put 600, 700 pounds on my total, you know.
And the program, it's the Jackals 8-week strength program or something. I don't know if that's the exact name, but around Massenomics Gym, people just call it the Massenomics program because so many people run that strength program so regularly.
It's 3 days a week, and it just works really. It's 5x5s, 5x3s. Like,
and it's pretty rare to find people at the beginner or intermediate level at least, like, because I know that from experience. We don't have a lot of national level competitors, but at the beginner and intermediate level, if you are able to stay healthy and run through it,
and
especially
show
multiple
up,
times,
like,
you're pretty much guaranteed to get stronger.
like we've seen lots of people show up and literally over the course of a year put hundreds of pounds on their total,
and it's
lifting 3 days a week. Like,
Yeah.
and these aren't like workouts where they're doing 30 exercises, 20.
No,
like,
it's very simple.
like most days you're showing up and doing like five lifts.
Yep, or 3 to
3,
5.
yeah, 3 even. Like,
Yeah.
and like you can get really strong doing that.
That's
I've
never really seen it. I've seen people give up.
Yeah.
For various reasons or not. I'd say this, anyone that I've seen put in like 100%, really give it a real shot, it's basically gotten them stronger. And maybe not on every lift, all the time, but in general, all the lifts going up.
Yeah. And there are some,
time.
I would say there are like some nuances to the program where like
there's
certain
people that do things differently.
Yeah. And like you'll find that maybe certain percentages don't quite work for you the same, but it doesn't take long to kind of figure those out and make adjustments, and then it just takes off for you again.
But that is the Jackals program.
It is, yeah.
And
it was. I don't know if it's still. I don't know
yeah.
if it's still online, but there was a point where you could just go to Jackals Gym or whatever, and they had the Excel sheet online.
If anyone really wants it, message us, and I've sent it to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people over the years at Massenomics Gym because everyone's always like, oh, what is that everyone here's doing, all the time.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. I think online I haven't looked forever, but I think they had like a 12-week program on there at one point, and I think they also had a bench program on at one point too.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to know if those are still there. I don't
Yeah.
know. Or if anyone else runs those at all.
Right.
And it's so hard after you get used to it, like 3 days a week. Like it's just bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Like bang for your buck,
When I do it, I do it as a 4, because I like to lift 4 days a week when I can. So that's what you're talking about, the nuances. There's just one thing I like, the second benching. I just do when I want to do it 4 days a week. I just do the second benching on its own day instead of after squatting. And,
which I think is fine. Yeah. But I think that is one of the more unique things about the program is I don't think there's a ton of programs that are 3 days.
True.
Like most people think you need to go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, or even more. And that's been like one thing, like when I've told people about like lifting and everything, it's like, oh, I just don't have time to go to the gym 5-6 days a week. It's like, no, you only have to go like if you really just want to just feel a little better and get stronger, you only have to go like 3 days.
Right.
Like that's all that's needed.
And like as far as frequency, you're still really technically squatting twice a week and benching twice a week.
Squatting and benching twice a week.
Deadlifting once a week, and I think that'd be normal for frequency on deadlift to be a little bit lower. So but so that's how. So
that's what my former roommate. Yeah. He that was his program. That's what he ran, and it worked for him, and it worked for a lot of guys that he lifted with. And that's kind of what he sent me, and I started doing that. And it was just like it was an 8-week program, just every 8 weeks. I was getting stronger every 8 weeks, and this whole time we're going to the the local YMCA. And that's kind of where I started to run into like you and some of the other guys, is that we just all happen to have, regular 8 to 5 jobs where we get done and, around 5:30, 6:30, everyone starts showing up. And after like years of that, you start to recognize the same people.
Oh, there's that guy and he kind of does what I do.
Like they're not being a total jackass over there. Like, maybe we're not so different.
Yeah. That is what it's like though. I honestly can't even remember, but we were probably at the gym at the same time, probably like, I don't even know, probably several times before. It's like, there's that guy again.
I think probably a lot of times,
yeah. Before we started being like, we kind of do the same sort of thing here.
Yep. And so it was the coworker that kind of got me to go to the gym, and even with that, I at the time got into volleyball then, and like I have men's league volleyball. If you can get on a competitive team and like you can actually get people that know what they're doing, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like people talk about like city league basketball and how people get so like aggressive and take it so seriously.
I played a lot of the years of city league basketball and got in there's very often close to fist.
Yeah,
fist
see, I
thrown
do
into
not
doing
need that in my
basketball.
life at all. I don't need that
It's-
frustration, like, because I would get really competitive and I'd get
It's-
too frustrated.
it's
and,
bad, like-
and then like when people are running their mouth, like I don't need that negativity in my life. So that is,
I quit basically because of that reason. You know,
it sucks.
Yeah.
And that is like the nice thing about like volleyball is that you have people on one side of the net and people on the other, and you kind of have to be civil, you know.
Yeah.
But it is a fun game, and I was fairly good at jumping. You know, like
Yeah.
I could never dunk a basketball just because it was more the palming thing.
Yep.
But I was for quite a while,
at
up until
spiking
even a few
volleyball
years
and-
ago, I could dunk a volleyball. Just because a lot easier to grab.
Yep.
But I know for a fact I could not dunk a volleyball. I know I could grab the rim still, but there's no way I'm dunking it
Yeah,
now. But it is
yeah.
kind of weird how you can gain like 45 pounds and only lose a couple inches off your
Right.
vertical.
Well,
Like,
you're getting stronger. At
yeah,
the same
and that's what it
time,
is.
you know,
It's
your
like
squat's
for
going
every
up
little
a-
bit you get stronger, you also
Yeah.
get heavier. And,
Yeah, and then after a while, there's a decrease in the jump. You know, it's like, well, going
'Cause
to
that
a
was-
600-pound squat isn't going to make me jump any higher.
And
you
that
know?
was like one of my initial things, like when I first started going to the gym, like, okay, yeah, squats, like leg stuff, like I'm going to be able to jump really high. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to dunk
Yeah.
it. Like this is my thing.
And there is for a while where it's
Yeah, you do
it's a
see
tur-
an improvement. Yeah. Especially just like with all of it, those newbie gains in the beginning.
That's,
Like
I
it
know I
starts to-
experienced a point in time there where I wasn't getting super heavy, but I had started to just do a normal squatting and stuff where it's like, oh, I can jump higher. And it's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like, and then you start to get like heavier.
Yeah, it's
and
like, well, if I gain weight, I can squat more. And then it's like you're trading off goals here, you
Yeah.
know.
And what about professionally then? Eventually, like you don't work for someone else
So yeah,
anymore.
so then I worked for this company doing when I first moved to town, I worked for this company doing like it was a printing company, so I did a lot of graphic design, website design, logo design, all the your standard design things. One of the nice things about it is I got to during that time I didn't know a ton about website design, specifically like HTML, CSS, PHP coding, all those things.
Yep.
And I got a lot of like hands-on, like on the job learning. And if you're smart, like if someone's training you, if you're like someone's paying you to learn stuff on the job, like you got to really pay attention to that, because like you can use that and that can like really serve you later on. And it worked out like and I also did a lot of photos and videos for him too at that time. And it worked out that got decently good at it. And kind of while this is going on, I actually had a different place approach me about working for them, and it was a management position. It was like, okay, yeah, this seems like a good time to go up on this, and did that for a few years, and it was a good opportunity, but it kind of just comes to the point where it's like, maybe I want to give it a shot to do my own thing here, because some things are also coming up that presented themselves that it was an advantageous time to
Right.
take advantage of that. And
in the line of work you do, like I don't know, anyone that's probably really good at that job, that's probably the path that you go towards, is that like you.
I mean, yeah,
Like-
yeah. I guess if I'm going to live, like currently my situation living here, it was either work for myself or move. Like those are
Yeah.
kind of my two options.
Yeah.
Like, because at some point, especially like in smaller markets, there's not a lot of chances for upward mobility in certain
Yep.
positions. There's some people that have just been there a really, really long time, and you're
Yep.
not going to get above them. And unless you want to like wait out 10 years, like that's
Yeah.
or more, that's not going to happen. And so yeah, starting my own thing kind of seemed like the way to go. And it, I guess I'm trying to probably never really, I started my own business, Tommy
Yeah.
DeFea.
Yeah.
And,
you've never really. I don't think you've ever.
I'm trying to like think what we've even
I don't
talked
think we've
about.
ever.
but
I don't think we've ever.
yeah, so it
talked
was
about
like
but-
last August, so it's been a year and 2-3 months. Decided to finally go out on my own. I started Tommy D Creative, and it's offering people websites, kind of all the things I just said: websites, graphic design, photography, video work, logos.
There could be people listening. I think that could be interesting.
Definitely,
You would do it services for people nationwide, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, it
absolutely. And I
doesn't-
do
yeah.
work. I work with clients from all over the country.
Yeah.
It's worked out for me good that a lot of the people I used to work with in my old jobs really enjoyed working with me, and I still had a relationship with them. And so
Yep.
they heard that I was going on my own, and they came to me right away, which was great
Yeah.
to like have that and not be like, okay, sitting here twiddling your thumbs,
Yeah.
like hoping money's going to show up.
Yeah.
So that really got me going. But yeah, I'm always looking for more work, and if people have a project, you can hop on my website. I have a form, or an email address on there, and you can send me anything, and we can set up a conversation to talk about it and figure out what you got going and what your goals are, and what you want to see happen, and figure out if I'm a good fit for you.
TommyDCreative.com.
TommyDCreative.com. Yeah.
There's some good Massenomics pictures on there for
and there's also a lot of
Massenomics.
Massenomics work and things on there.
Yeah.
And so that also kind of ties into it a little bit too. Is and we've talked about this quite a bit. I'll just do the super short version, but it was basically, you were at the gym and you talked about how you were kind of starting like a YouTube channel,
like a YouTube blog channel.
And so I would like talk to you about a logo, and I'm like, yeah, I can do something, and you were like on vacation in Florida, I think. And I'd been like playing around with some ideas in my head for a while and kind of drawing some stuff out. And then one day it's like, it kind of hit me and I got this thing put together, and I'm like, I feel pretty good about this, but like, I really don't know Tanner. I don't know if he'll go for this at all.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll see, whatever. And I send you the logo and you're like, damn, that's really awesome.
Yeah, I remember I was in Florida and I showed it to everyone and I was like, oh, chick.
And I mean,
I was this is it.
Yeah, that is it has not changed at all since.
No.
I mean, that's probably 4 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure that was in 2014.
Yeah, like it has not changed one bit.
No.
Which is kind of fairly unusual. I think a lot of times people make little tweaks to it.
When I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, like because I didn't even know, I didn't have an expectation even, I think I remember saying like, I like the idea of a large M, like, which of course.
Oh no, and you said I really like red.
Yeah,
That was like my two.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I really got the details down on that one.
So you had some kind of free reign on.
Like, luckily my discovery process is slightly more refined than that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're like, yeah, I like red, and I don't know, like an M seems kind of cool. And I thought about it for a little while and put this together, and you're like, damn, that's awesome. And so then it was kind of from there, because, I worked in an environment where the stuff is produced. It was like, yeah, we can make shirts, like we can do all this stuff. And that's kind of where the wheels first started spinning, like, oh, this is kind of cool, like making stuff. And like when you first started seeing people wearing your things around town, like,
yeah, they're really cool.
Like just go into a bar or some random store around town and someone's like wearing something you made, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool actually. And like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, it's really it's always, anytime I ever see someone in Massenomics, anything, especially if they're not like in my close circle of 10 friends and family, it's like, oh yeah, and really cool. I still get excited for it, but it's like now it's almost getting to the point where like I've designed a lot of t-shirts, I've designed a lot of things. And this literally hit me the other day. I was because I also am on a bowling league now too. Oh yeah. But I was at the bowling alley, and there was a guy there in a shirt that I designed, and I want to say there was someone else there in a Massenomics hat too. And I'm like, a couple of years ago, I would have been like, what? This is crazy. And now it's like, I don't even think twice about it. It's like, oh yeah, I made that. I'm not even gonna bother to tell the guy I made the shirt because they don't care. Do you do that?
No.
But if you're talking with someone, you
yeah. If I was talking with someone, or if I was somewhere outside of town and I saw someone Massenomics stuff, I'd have to be like, hey, just so you know what that is.
My dream is to be walking through when I'm in the airport, I am constantly scanning. Like, I want to see someone, outside of. We have had people like
on the way to and from the Arnold too, like that happens.
We have had people, Jake from the gym, he was in
outside
Dominican
the
Republic, and he ran into someone in the lift shirt, and that's
just crazy.
I want that to happen to me someday.
Yep. I'd freak out. So if
but you've designed everything that we've ever, every shirt and every single thing.
Yeah,
we've ever had.
like the website and all this stuff. Yeah, all the merchandise, and we're always like throwing ideas at each other, but like getting this stuff and like making it and kind of like seeing this little business, it's like, oh, it's really, really rewarding to like kind of just like have ideas in your brain and you make them, and then people think that that's valuable and like that, and it's a cool feeling. And I don't think a lot of people really get to experience that for the most part in their normal jobs.
Right.
And I like it. Like it's hard to like beat that.
Yeah. Powerlifting wise, before I forget, you've done like 4 meets now.
I've done 4 meets.
What was your first total? I know we've talked about these before, but just the like 11 something.
It was probably like a low 11s. It was for sure low 11s, like 11, 10, or 15 maybe.
This last year, your PR total was
1407.
Yep,
something like that.
And you've kind of done 1 meet a year over the last 4 years or something
like
that.
Yep. I've done 1 meet every March for 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's pretty much put 100 pounds on my total every year, just about.
Yeah. So that's kind of the really quick. I mean, that's the one thing we have talked about is our our lifting background a little bit, so I think people kind of know, but it's still just interesting to hear the numbers on that, I think.
Yeah.
And that's not what you've gotten bigger over time, from when you started lifting.
Yeah, my first competition I weighed in at 183.
Or
yeah. Or is it 181?
It might be 183 in USAPL.
It's been so long
now. Yeah. And
83 kilos.
Now you compete in the 105 or whatever it is, right?
Yep, you're 231.
Yeah.
Weighed in at a hefty 220-ish.
Should I ask you some of the
We
fan
probably
questions?
should. We're 40 minutes in already.
And there's quite a few questions here, and I do want to still get to the underrated. Overrated
So we'll kind of rapid fire some of these.
Yeah. Some of these will be a pretty quick answered question, I think. Anyways, let's see here. Got to get to it, but we did get a good response. I felt like.
That's good.
All right, I'm gonna start from the beginning here. Looks like we got about 20 questions or so. Favorite Lacroix flavor and go-to beer.
Okay, favorite Lacroix right now. Lime is my favorite Lacroix.
Okay.
Have you had lime?
Is there a lemon lime or is it just lime? Because
I think so. There is lemon.
Okay.
There is lime.
I think I've had lime.
There might be. To me, lime has the strongest flavor. It's just really, really good.
So you're saying you can almost taste it?
You can actually. I'm going as far as saying you can taste it.
That is the strongest.
As soon as
flavor,
I'm done with this podcast, I'm going upstairs, grabbing a lime Lacroix, and sitting on the couch and doing nothing.
I like Lacroix, but I also like to make fun of Lacroix too.
Well, and someone was trying to explain bashing on it the other day, which I totally get, and I was in that same position at one point. This is how I would say, if I could describe Lacroix, I would use a line from The Office, and that is challenging yet rewarding. And it's because I feel like everything is so sugary now that it's just like bam, bam, it's just hammering on your taste buds, because everything is designed to be so addictive and so intense and so sugary that to have something that's a little more mellow and a little more subtle, and you kind of have to be like, okay, yeah. So that is where Lacroix is different and unique in that way.
Yeah. It is still fun to make fun of it, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you want to hate on it, I totally get it.
Yeah. But I like them. I drink them a lot. And go-to beer.
Go-to beer. This changes a lot for me, and I feel like it also changes with the seasons. You don't want a really dark porter or stout in the middle of summer. That doesn't work.
Yep.
For a while, actually, I would say the most recent beer that I've had that I've been I really enjoy this was this summer, Kona Big Wave. I'd never had it until this summer. Maybe it's existed. It didn't show up around here until this summer. Really enjoyed it.
Is that anything like Kahlua?
No. It is. Think about what you know about Kahlua and think the exact opposite, and then you're basically there. It's a lighter beer.
It doesn't sound like
but
it
has a little more flavor. It's a good summer beer. I like it a lot.
So that's your go-to, you'd say?
Well, right now it's wintertime. I'm not going to be drinking that. So right now, I don't know. Right now I'll go with whatever seasonal porter. I like a good porter or stout.
Okay. That was from Brandon. This next one is from Will Ajay. I never know how to say his name, but he's a regular.
Yeah, we see the comments.
Yeah. Are you a stunt double for the Workaholics actor?
I've got that a lot. We should actually.
Sure, you've heard that.
We almost should with this podcast or something. Have you seen the photo I have of me
dressed up for Halloween? Yeah. You have dressed up as
him for Halloween.
I haven't watched Workaholics for a while, but I should know. Blake.
Yeah, and the resemblance is at the time I grew out a mustache and everything. I was much skinnier then.
Yeah.
It was pretty spot on.
Were you wearing the short sleeve button?
I had the short sleeve button up with the loose tie. Yeah. We'll see if we can round up that picture.
What do you think of the questions about you being Blake from Workaholics? Do you ever get sick of that? Or
no, and actually I used to get it a lot. Well,
when you were
Workaholics used to be a lot
popular,
bigger.
Yeah.
It's kind of
and
they're done now. But I was skinnier too. It was more college age.
Yeah.
It was just the perfect storm that, especially if I went out with some friends in a town that not here, a different town, it was everywhere. Blake, Workaholics.
Did that ever get annoying though?
I was just whatever, dude. I'm just everyone's drunk and obnoxious. I'm probably being drunk and obnoxious too. Hey, if it keeps you happy.
Relationship status, asking for a friend from Leah Lachey.
Well, I am happily married. That was my wife.
Will, again, what is this is a legitimate question, and I don't know what it is. What is your opinion of Inkscape?
Inkscape. Oh, that is.
What is Inkscape?
It's a you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's like a vector graphics program, and it's a lot cheaper. Like, because I use the Adobe
Suite.
Yeah, Creative Cloud. I don't think there's anything wrong with those programs, like especially because not everyone can be dumping.
That's a cheaper. It would be a cheaper.
Yeah, so like the
alternative.
Creative Cloud, like the graphic design software that I use to run my business runs about $60 a month, and for anyone that wants a hobby, $60 a month is probably a little much if you're not making any money on it. If you're running a business, every tool you need basically for $60 a month, that's a great deal. But so I think like tools like that you could, I don't even know what it costs, if it's $50 or $100, but if you can pay that once and get involved and that inspires you to want to do more,
could be a transitional.
Yeah, it could be a transitional thing. Like, I think it's great. It's not like the industry standard by any means, so at some point you would probably need to move over, but I'm all for tools that get people involved in things. So
this is also from Leah. If you had to choose between Bernie or her, who would you choose?
Can I like wrap them both up and take them both with me?
That's not the question.
Okay, I'll say Leah. Maybe.
But just let's
I'll
hope
say,
you don't have to make that.
Well, Bernie can't understand English completely yet, so his feelings can't be that hurt.
Let's hope you're not like on a ship that's sinking and there's only room for two in a lifeboat, and you have to make that call.
Could be a tough decision.
What was the best skate shoe from the 2000s?
Ooh,
and do you know who asked this question?
Probably my brother Ryan.
Flying.
Best
Ryan
skate shoe. Okay, so
from the 2000s.
From the 2000s. So
I would say 2000 to 2009.
So there was some really famous ones from this time, and I'm sure a lot of people can probably remember, like, if you look up like some Etnies and some some DCs and some Osiris's from that time, like there's probably some things that'll kind of give you like the blast from the past. As far as iconic goes, not saying it's for the right reasons, the Osiris D3 is on a whole level of its own. The SXL, obviously a classic, still around to this day. I had some what I thought were pretty cool, some Etnies Mike Vallely's. I thought those were pretty awesome, but I don't know. Those are all pretty classics. The DC, I think, was it like the DC? I think it was like the Manteca or something. I had a lot of friends that had those. They were like $50. They were super cheap, but they were like a good shoe. Those are kind of like some of my fonder memories.
Don't underestimate the Adidas Superstar 2G for skateboarding. Are you familiar with that shoe?
Yes, I know that shoe. Those were very popular for a while.
There was not a boy alive that I knew that did not own a pair of those.
Those were hot. And
just what color stripes did you have was the thing?
And
like,
the thing
did you
that
go
I was
red or
and the thing that I was
blue?
wondering is, like, dad shoes are like the whole dad.
When
shoe
are those
thing.
coming back?
Well, I'm surprised those haven't came back just because like that's.
Is it
That's
Adidas Superstar 2G or 3G? I can't remember
I think it was the 2G.
Okay,
That's
2G.
what I thought it was the 2G.
Yeah, is the common one. I don't know if it's a good skate shoe, but
probably not the best.
When are you? This is from Nightmare Muscle. When are you going to drop a Massenomics singlet?
Ooh,
or log for presses? Not sure what that is.
So technically, we do have a
singlet available.
A special order on the store.
I think the Nightmare Muscle guys might make singlets. We'll probably have to talk to those guys about it.
Because they do have a lot of guys in singlets.
Yeah,
and their singlets look good.
Yeah, we'll probably have to talk to you guys about that and see if we can't maybe get, because we have a singlet special order program we can do right now.
I think they have it figured out better than we do.
Yeah, exactly. We need to up our game there. That's true. This is from Lift Evil. Was Tommy on Workaholics? He's still sexy though. We already covered that.
Thank you for that. And see back 5 minutes ago to get the answer to that. But maybe I was. You'll never know.
Josh Albright, how do I get hair as luscious as yours?
Well,
there are a few hair questions in here that we get to. So.
Well, you're kind of just born with it, Josh. So you're screwed, man.
Is that the next question? Is what products do you use on your locks?
Okay, products. I will give information here.
Yeah. That's from my sister.
Okay.
Actually. Wants to know what products you use.
Conditioner is key. Shampoo. Don't even really need it. Hardly ever. Curly hair tends to be naturally very dry. Shampoo only dries it out more. So almost don't need to shampoo my hair. Found that one out looking around online.
I took your advice from that because I wash my hair twice a day basically because I don't know, it's just I have to. But now at least one of those times I just use conditioner instead of shampoo.
It really
and that was on your.
Really makes it nice. But so that was big, and then You got to have, for sure, with curly hair, you have to have some Moroccan oil, or you get the driest, craziest mess. So you spray a little Moroccan oil in. Sometimes I have like a protein spray or something I spray in too, and those take care of it. And actually, it's funny because someone else that I follow on Instagram, it's a pretty big account, and the guy has really curly hair, and someone asked him the same question. How do you make your hair or how do you take care of your hair? And he's like, gotta have the Moroccan oil, dude. So I'm not the only one.
Another hair thing. Does your hair give you your strength?
Well,
like Samson,
I've never not had it since I started lifting, so we can't rule that out. That is a possibility.
Would you? This isn't a question on there, but would you ever cut your hair like short?
Like at some point, yeah, it's gonna get thin and it's gonna have to happen.
Yeah, but that's not a plan like in the near future.
I don't think so.
That would be weird.
It would be because I've had long hair since I've been like 20. Like I'm going on like 10 years of long hair.
Yeah.
At the time, it seemed like a cool thing. Like, I can grow my hair out. Why don't I give this a shot? And then you just do it. It's like, well, it's kind of my thing
that's
now.
almost a part of your, at this point, like, it would be
it's
just
the
really.
mystique, right?
What's your go-to beer to drink? We already covered that. Why doesn't your dog, Bernie, have his own Insta?
He does.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
He has his own Instagram account?
Yeah, my wife started him one. Bernie the Bernadoodle.
Oh.
Check him out. Very,
Instagram.
very adorable.
That hair give you strength. That was from Scott Dodds. Also from Scott Dodds, would you be stronger with a beard?
Probably, but I can't grow one, so you'll see my poor attempt at facial hair very soon here.
From Roscoe, how much you bench? One word.
How much you bench? Right now, not as much as I should be.
But what is
most I've ever got in the gym? I've gotten 350. In a meet, the best I've gotten is 325.
But you've gotten that pretty clean. Like, it was a situation where
I tried jumping to almost 340.
You probably would have been good for
But touch and go, I'm one of the guys that touch and go. Like I don't slam it down, but
you don't.
But for me, touch and go compared to a pause takes like 10 to 15 off easy for me.
I don't know who this is, but I guess you probably will. When did you decide that you wanted to be a TJ Miller lookalike?
Oh,
who is TJ Miller?
See, and I didn't know this one for a while. He is the guy. He's from Silicon Valley. He's here. I'll find a picture here for you.
I assume he has long curly hair.
Yeah, you'll recognize him here.
Okay.
I can't think of what movie he's in. Oh. TJ Miller. So we're looking up for photos of this. Do you recognize this guy at all, Tanner?
Oh yeah, I don't think you. I guess I don't. Yeah,
it depends. I guess
on his exact look.
Yeah, he's in Deadpool.
Yeah,
it depends on the look he has going on. But
he's a little too zany. I think.
Yeah,
he's like.
I have had people tell me that I look like him though before. That's not the first one.
Last question from these guys is I don't know if I can't quite read it all. I don't know how this is supposed to work, but how did you make your own power company? I'm not sure about that. If power could that be a misspelled?
It could have been an autocorrect thing.
Okay. Don't know about that. And do you make your own shirts, or do you have another company print them for you? I think is what it probably says.
So maybe it was how do you make your own apparel company?
I bet that's what it is. I bet that's what it is.
So what was it? So was it how do you make your own apparel company?
Yeah, and do you make your own shirts, or do you have anyone, and then it trails off? I think anyone else print them for you.
So apparel company, I mean, really just need to. Now is the easiest time in the world to do something like that. You just need to have an idea and design it up and find a shirt to put it on.
The hard part is getting someone to buy it.
That's the hardest part. Like if you probably, wherever you are in the world right now, are just miles down the road from someone that will print something and put it on a shirt for you. Or if you don't want to deal locally, you can go online and find tons and tons of people that will make a shirt and print it for you. But yeah, the real challenge is finding someone that wants to buy something from you. And that's with anything is you might feel like you have a good idea, but until you can get people that will actually give you money for that, your idea maybe isn't as good as you think it is. So that's just I mean, and there's so many things out there online. If you really want to do it, you could spend one weekend and learn a ton and have an apparel company launched relatively soon. So.
Yeah. And we do not print.
We do not print our own. Nope. We've always gone with a different vendor. Like we both work full-time jobs and. You have a family. I have a wife. Like Massenomics, to between the website, the blog, the podcast, Instagram, social media, going to the gym, all that stuff. There's just not physically time for us to be printing our own stuff.
I've said before, like I've said this to my wife before. I'm like, I I would love to be. I would love to. I would love to have that
Oh, yeah,
equipment.
it'd be awesome to say that we do
the
that.
barrier to entry to me isn't us buying the equipment. We could do that if we wanted to.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry to me, I feel like if I absolutely had, like, I could figure out the time if it was like set up, if I had the space in my own home, you know. But the big thing to me is just like it's a skill to be able to do
it's a
that
skill,
well.
It's an art. Like you don't
it's
just go
a
up and push the button. It's not
Right.
like you're printing out something on a piece of paper and you
No.
can file print and you
Yeah,
go. Like
exactly. It's not an inkjet printer. Like it, you would need someone to train you to do that well. I think.
And you'll even
that's my
find if you
opinion.
go through this that with different vendors, you'll
A lot of
find
people don't know how to
wild
do it
different
well.
levels of quality,
Right.
like, and what people think is acceptable. Like even placement. A lot of people don't even understand the basics of placement on this stuff. Like,
And we do some complicated-ish stuff. Like we do the lift shirts. Our most popular shirt is a 4-color print. Like that's not as easy as there's
just
a difference in a 1
where we
color and a
just,
4
hit it
color. And
once and
there's a lot of stuff you learn. I've learned even just from
just about the printing industry.
Yeah.
You've learned a lot about
right
it. You know?
that I wouldn't have known otherwise. Now I'll get into these underrated and overrated.
Okay.
And we got a little time, so we don't
Yeah.
have to buzz through them. And I guess I only did 6 or 7 here, but so your options are either to you underrated or overrated. I feel like you've got to try to pick one of those
Yep.
because that puts it in a
Yep, black and white.
yeah, and,
There's
it's
no,
tough. You know,
yep,
you have to
Yep, it's
like there's
right
no
or
like
wrong.
yeah, right. So number 1, underrated or overrated? Second season of Making a Murderer.
Well, I think people all say it sucks. So I think they don't say it sucks, but I think the general consensus is that it's not as good as the first. So by that, I'm going to say it's underrated because I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Most people didn't like it.
So
I found it enjoyable, so I'm going to say it's underrated.
Okay. And you have seen it all.
I
was
have seen it
assuming
all.
you have, and I haven't seen it, so that was a
Oh, you
personal-
haven't seen it yet?
So that
Okay.
was like giving me some insight. That
I'm
was
going to say it's
actually-
underrated just because when I got done watching it, most people were like, nah, not as good, not very good.
And you thought it was you thought it was worth your time. It was yeah.
I thought it was worth my time.
Okay. So underrated. Underrated or overrated? Walked out squats.
I think they're underrated. I like walked out squats.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people. I don't know. I like why do we need to make everything easier? Like
Yeah.
if the name of the game is to be strong, why do we need to make like whippier bars and the widest plates and not walk out squats and like just let anything go? Like if the name of the game is to really be strong, like then let's do things that prove you're strong besides
Right.
like in the smallest like subset of what you weigh and how you do it. Like
Yeah.
just be strong, man.
Yeah. So walked out squats underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated or overrated? Thanksgiving food.
Well, I think turkey's overrated.
Definitely.
Like turkey's good if you smother it in gravy and don't have white meat. Ham's underrated. Ham's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to have like prime rib or something on your Thanksgiving.
I don't think we can call that.
Okay,
Thanksgiving
that's not
food.
allowed to
No,
sneak
I
in
think
there?
you've got to
Okay,
say
well-
turkey, ham, stuffing, gravy.
See,
corn,
I like all those
pumpkin
things.
pie.
I love all of those things except turkey. Like turkey, I'm so indifferent on.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving food's overrated. People love to freak out about it. You can make that.
I
You can make
agree.
that stuff all.
Yeah.
Do you know how easy it is to make stuffing? Like I remember the first time I made stuffing, I was like, "That's it? You put this little box in the little pot and you wait 5 minutes?" Like I get people make it from scratch.
Yeah.
And I do not doubt that that's a lot of work, but the stuff in the box tastes really good. It takes 5 minutes and it's like $1. Like
Yeah.
the Thanksgiving's half done already there.
So overrated Thanksgiving food. Underrated or overrated? Wrist wraps for the bench press.
I guess I didn't even know that was like a debate.
I don't think it is. It's just something that who I saw. It was one of these big bench pressers. Maybe it was Julius Maddox or something.
Yeah, I don't
and
think
he
he
said,
had any on,
And he
did he?
said not wearing any wrist wraps, and I just thinking about. So that made me think like.
I think-
And then I think you think about it as like, are they like?
Well, I think
we
making
all
a
wear
big deal
'em.
about
Yeah.
it is overrated because it's totally that's part of every federation. So it's just like it'd be like talking about, I don't know, not wearing socks to play basketball. Like, okay, I guess, but I don't really know. Like,
Well,
I guess
what's the
if it
point?
feels like it makes you more competitive, sure.
Yeah. So what did you?
So I think wrist wraps are underrated.
I didn't say these were all going to be intelligent.
It's rated.
This one goes back a little bit to this fall time of year and food. Pumpkin spice insert here. Pumpkin spice flavored fall.
See, I don't
foods
do
and lattes.
I don't
and
have
all
a
that
problem
shit.
with it. It all tastes good, but I don't get excited for it at all. So I'm gonna say overrated.
Yeah,
The most pumpkin spice I get really for anything is pumpkin pie.
yeah. Last one here. Underrated or overrated? Spotify Premium.
Oh, underrated. Like you have to have. As far as I'm concerned, if you want to be a music fan and you don't have a music subscription service, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be buying tons of music.
But is Spotify Premium the
Oh, you
one
have?
to,
Compared to other ones?
Yeah, that's not necessarily what I'm. But now
Oh.
I'm asking you that now.
Okay.
Like, is that the one that you?
I haven't.
You would
I haven't
want,
used
or?
the other ones. I wouldn't. See, I'm an Apple guy, and I wouldn't even. I don't think I'd use Apple Music. It probably plays nicer with all my stuff, but I like Spotify. I don't think I would like Tidal's one too. Would never do Tidal, and I mean those are I think kind of the three main players.
Okay.
So Spotify underrated. You need that in your life. Don't be listening to Pandora. You're doing it wrong if you have Pandora. God, it blows my mind how bad Pandora is.
Yeah. What are we at? Are we getting?
We're at an hour and 5 minutes.
Just out of our normal segments, we'll just even skip big lifts for the week. But I did just want to do one comment of best Instagram/YouTube comment of the week, and this goes out to many people who held this same title. Mm-hmm. It was on a recent Versus that we reposted. It was curling, the Olympic sport of curling versus curls. Bradley Martin was the man in the picture doing the curls,
and he had the what's it called again?
That thing that you
Arnold's the arm blaster.
Against his elbows that you do curls with, and the bottom Massenomics Versus line was modeled by, and on the left I think it was Intense Asian Lady. On the right it said Brad Castleberry ? Yeah. It was obviously Bradley Martin,
and it was a joke, like who would not know who either one of these guys are if you're into this at all.
We would make that and put question marks, be like, oh, we're not really sure who this is. Like, could someone tell us? Yeah. But about this best comment goes out to about 20 different people on that post, and the comment is, "That's Bradley Martin."
Hey, now we know. We can fix it for next time, right?
Yes. Thanks goes out to all the people on there that ragged on those people that said, "Dude, it's a joke," or But it's fun because that just means it's getting out to so many people that don't even understand our thing. Because anyone that follows us knows that we know that is Bradley Martin.
Yeah. Like they've been spending too much time following serious pages and forget that things can be fun.
Yes. Otherwise, I think we'll skip the rest of the segments. But that was basically the story and life of Tommy DeFea this week on the Massenomics Podcast. That's something different than what we've ever done before. You guys could let us know, what you thought about that.
Hopefully, it wasn't too boring.
Yeah. And if you got any follow-up questions, we're not going to go
bang through those.
We probably won't do a whole nother we won't do a whole nother episode.
We can answer questions.
Yeah. Let us know if you got any follow-up questions about the life of Tommy. So what did you think of that going through your?
It's like the same. It's always like talking about myself.
Yeah,
this is probably
just
really
like what
boring.
we said. Yeah.
Not that exciting.
I think people will find it interesting. People that have listened to us for a long time too, to find out a little bit more about what's going on. So that's Tommy. Our stuff. You guys know the stuff, but the biggest thing, again, we talked about it last week, is the new apparel that will be out.
By the time you're hearing this.
Before you're hearing this, actually.
Lots of new stuff.
Yes. Within 2 days from now, that doesn't even make sense what I'm saying, but within 2 days of when we're sitting here recording this, we'll have that in our store. Bench shirt will be fully restocked all the way up to 4XL, and all the 3 new sweatshirts will be dropped. The Lift logo crew neck in gunmetal heather gray, the hoodie bench logo in heather blue, and the hoodie camo hoodie eagle logo will all be available in the store. But act quickly after our big Black Friday sales. Who knows what's going to be left in that store. We might just
probably
be
nothing.
It'll be like cockroach scurrying across.
Sweeping the floor in the warehouse and just closing up shop.
Probably won't have any lift shorts left after our big Black Friday. This will already have happened by then, but there will be will have been a 25-cent discount on. I set up the promo code today. The promo code is Rich Get Richer, and
As it should be.
And it's for 25 cents off on any pair of lift shorts.
So don't say we never did anything for you.
No, we did it. I think that's about it, though. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. What's your handle? We didn't even talk about your Instagram handle, did we? I mean, did we get it
no, we didn't talk about that really at all.
Now's the time.
You can find me at Tomahawk_D. Lately, it's mostly just dog-related stuff. So,
but he's got his own page now.
He does. Oh, and the dog has his own page, Bernie the Bernadoodle. So
maybe you could put his page link in your description.
Link to it in mine. Yeah.
And you can follow the official Massenomics Instagram account at Massenomics. And that'll do us. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.
You just heard the Massenomics Podcast. With your ears, you're welcome. Check us out on Facebook, find us on Instagram at Massenomics, and make sure you visit Massenomics.com and buy some of that sweet Massenomics gear. From your friends at Massenomics Studio, home of the world's strongest podcast, stay strong.